Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Akakadesh, double honors and salutations to the elders, bishops, and apostles who grew up in stone, who rule well, to the Akim and Akwath throughout the four corners of the earth, holding on in sincerity and in truth, to the testament of the Lord, Hamashiach Yahushai, his brother Menashe, DC Camp. Another short lesson for the hopeful elect. Yeah, so the legislators of Edom cannot hold their composure no more as they see the country fall into disintegration. And, their blood is boiling. But what's the use, sticking the neck in the guillotine, when they know that the guillotine serves no major purpose but to have a chop off. Yeah, so it's getting worse and worse. Even these legislators understand that they basically they're losing time, they're losing patience, and it's basically crumbling, man. They've sown so much of their energy into a process that is not really benefiting their constituents, and hey, frustrations is gonna be all over the place, and hey, expect chaos in Babylon. Expect Isaiah chapter 19 to come into pass. The complete breakdown and violence, will be rampant in this kingdom of Babylon. All right. So I'm gonna get this quick precept. It's from the book of Sirach. Sirach chapter 14. I'm gonna start from verse 3. Yes, all the wealth of Babylon is just going down the tubes. It's just how you say a lost cause, man. The people are not really getting the boost they need, and the elites are using these puppets to do their bidding. All right. So Sirach chapter 14 verse 3 says, "Riches are not comely for a niggard, and what should an envious man do with money?" Yep. So that right there shows you that there's a problem with Babylon's financial system. All right. And that's causing so much anger and frustration and animosity. All right. And then much more mentions that the wealth of Babylon is not really doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's not doing what it was meant, you know, to. It's not how you say engineer for the purpose of lifting up the people. It's engineered. The economy is engineered to boost the pockets of the rich. And when the people are ignorant, what do you expect to happen? They become zombies, for a blind cause, all right? And then verse 4 says, "He that gathereth by defrauding his own soul gathereth for others that shall spend his goods righteously." So all the wealth that they've gathered over the years, over the centuries, is not really doing them any good right now. The wealth of Babylon is basically being plundered. you know, they've been plunged into further death. That's what the scriptures talk about. Woe unto him that's covered in thick clay. Death. All right, and it's getting ugly. All right, that's why it's important to understand why these things are happening. The Lord is making us know that Babylon is on its way out, and certain things need to take place. All right. Uh, we just got to deal with, the pain of seeing everything crumble. It's basically a process of separation. Okay, so a nigger is basically someone that's I say it's of no substance. Just spending without a principle of righteousness. All right, and then verse 5 says, "He that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods." That's why there's so much of a contention, to plunder the wealth of Babylon, all right, to further push the people deep, deep, deep into a recession, right, into a depression as well, all right. And there's not much these politicians can do but just yell and scream, collect their salaries, and go home and come back to the same old shenanigans. So just like Apostle Gabar always like to use the analogy of the comedian George Carlin in America, CTD, Circling the Drain. That's exactly what we are observing before our eyes. All right. So, the plunder of Babylon's resources, to concentrate into the hands of the elite, is becoming evident. The so-called law enforcement agencies can't do much about it because they're basically puppets to protect the system, from being accountable, from the holding elites from being accountable. All right. So, verse 6 says, There is none worse than he that envieth himself, and this is a recompense of his wickedness. All right. So they can never have enough. This elite Edomites, they can never have enough. Greed is just, the order of the day. It's just like, them just picking their teeth with a toothpick. That's what greed is like to them. Just like a regular exercise. Yeah. So end of the day, you just have to understand what you're dealing with. So let me just play this clip real quick, man. Then you understand the madness of Babylon.
For more on this, I yield 5 minutes to my good friend from the great state of Texas, Chip Roy.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank the Speaker. I thank the gentleman from Pennsylvania. And I can't help but be amused that the gentleman from Massachusetts says that we refuse to come to the table. As if the gentlelady who will soon be the chairwoman of appropriations, Ms. Granger, my colleague from Texas, doesn't want to sit at the table with colleagues on either side of the aisle to come to consensus about how to spend taxpayer dollars, or better stated, how to borrow money we don't have. As if that's actually true. What table is the gentleman referring to? What table does he want us to come sit down and negotiate? It's not this table. I don't have the power to offer an amendment on the floor of the House of Representatives, despite being elected by 750,000 Texans. I don't have the ability or the right to be able to stand up for them and have a debate on the floor of this chamber. Everything the American people is watching right now is a complete sham. It's a fraud. A fraud being perpetrated on the American people right before their eyes, right as we head into Christmas, sitting here on the 23rd of December, when 6 years ago, those boys crossed the Delaware. We were dealing with Valley Forge, or the boys in 1944 sitting in foxholes in Bastogne over Christmas. And we had 18 Republicans who joined with Democrats in the Senate get on their fancy planes and go home, and we're sitting here trying to do the work of the people.
Well, it's not really the work of the people, It's basically the words of the Lord coming to pass. All right, end of the day, it's just the habits you see before the crumbling of a system. Right, no matter how hard they try to stitch it together, it just keeps falling apart. All right, just like the curses the Lord put upon us is coming upon Babylon. All right, so I read from the book of Isaiah, chapter 56. All right, this is what the Lord described. The knuckleheads of our nation. He says, "Yea, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough, and they are shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way, everyone for his own gain, all right? Everyone for his gain, for his quarter, all right? So, yep. So as it's happened unto us, it's happening unto them too, you know. So Edoms have to swallow up this cup of trembling, you know, the greed and graft and corruption, you know, it's gonna escalate high, you know, it's gonna be it's gonna go full steam, all right. And then verse 12 says, Isaiah 56 and 12, come ye, say they, I will fetch wine and we will fill ourselves with strong drink. All right, that's what they're gonna do with all that funds they've lined their pockets with. You know, they push the money, you know, through the bills to all these corporations, and then they have their front man sit on the board of these corporations to represent their interests, and they funnel the money back to them, you know, back into their so-called trusts and tax havens. Yeah, so it's nothing new, all right. And tomorrow shall be as this day, and much more abundant. Yeah, so they like to get a piece of the pie. You know, in fact, they like to get a whole pie. Yeah, so it doesn't matter how much this gentleman on the screen yells and screams and tries to bring a sense to the situation. It's just nothing. You know, it's just falling on deaf ears because that's the kingdom of Babylon. You know, the kingdom of the deaf Adam. All right. So you just have to learn how to spiritually detach yourself from a system that's hell bent on self-destruction. All right. So Micah chapter 2 verse 10 says, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you even with the self-destruction. So we cannot change this system from within. It doesn't matter if Jake, our people's so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans become senators, governors, directors, commissioners, mayors. They can't change the system. The vibration of Babylon, the vibration of the serpent, is geared for self-destruction. All right. So it says, it is polluted, it shall destroy you, even with the self-destruction. So there's nothing we can do, man, you know, to hold this place together. You know, the owners of Babylon are not happy with their grip on power, you know, slipping, and you know, they're doing whatever they can to control the people, and this is one of the means they do that, you know, through you know, diversion of funds. Right. So end of the day, it's gonna be a chaotic result, and we just have to understand that this is exactly what the Lord had planned, you know, to let Babylon destroy itself from within, and then you know, her so-called allies will do the rest. Okay. So Isaiah chapter 36 verse 6, it says, lo, thou trustest in the staff of this broken reed on Egypt. And that's what our people have been accustomed to doing. They've depended so much on Babylon. Then it says, whereon if a man lean, it will go into his hand. So they're gonna feel the brunt of Esau's system falling apart. Whew, it's like, yeah. So you know, our people just gonna inherit nothing but headaches and sadness and displeasure, you know, in the long run when they hold on to Babylon, right? And pierce it. Okay, it says it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh king of Egypt to all that trust in him. So you cannot trust in Esau's society, man. You know, time after time you see the upsets, you know, of the system. You know, it just doesn't want to go in the direction of righteousness to uplift the people. So if he's going to do good, he wouldn't want to do it willingly. He has to do it by force, by all the complaints of the people. Yeah, so there's nothing much we can do, man. The senators are just going to be upset. Do a couple of, shots of liquor, smoke some joints to try to calm their nerves, but that's not going to change the whole thing. It's just the whole show's falling apart, all right? And then final precept, just to wrap this up, is from the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2. I want to read from verse 9 to 12. It says, "Woe to him that coveted an evil covetousness to his house," all right? So these are the results of the empire. All the resources they've gathered onto themselves centuries ago. It's not really benefiting the people. It's just it's becoming a headache. All right. That he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. So all the wealth that the elites have gathered using the might of America, it's just not benefiting of the people that fought and spilled their blood and the blood of others for it, man. So the elites are gathering as much as they can, as much wealth as they can, riches, whatever. Even their peons are lining up their pockets too, to be able to pay for security and protection, and have resources. But for how long, man? It says that they may be delivered from the power of evil. All right. Yeah, but it's not gonna be able to deliver them, man. Scripture talks about their silver. It's not gonna deliver them, man. They shall cast their silver out in the streets. Then verse 10 says, "Thou hast consulted shame to thine house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy soul." Just like we read in the book of Sirach, chapter 14, defrauding his own soul by cutting off many people. Scripture talks about not removing the ancient landmarks. When you read in the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, So you see that it's a snowball effect, man. The dominoes just knocking each other down, man. And then verse 11 says, "For the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it." So it's chaotic, man. So just like in that movie, it's like in that video game Fallout. Yeah, man, it's just gonna be a mess. When you see the results of Babylon, as the Lord has ordained for it to be destroyed. So verse 12 says, "Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establisheth a city by iniquity." So if iniquity is woven into the foundation of empire, you can't root it out, no matter how many legislations, gets passed or executive orders. It can't, it can't be rooted out. The whole place has to be burned down, and that's the reason why the Lord has to allow World War III to happen, so that Babylon can go down and never be renowned again. So that was upon the Akim. Expect more bad news from the so-called halls of power, all right, from the corridors of Esau's rulership. Yeah, so that was upon the Akim Baratazar. We keep our eyes, circumspect in those last days and times. Shalom.